Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is our TNA show for the week. Let's jump right into it with the so-so portions. Basically, they weren't bad, they weren't good, they were just there. The only thing I really felt fell into this portion is the Ethan Carter III, Rockstar Spud, Rhino promo, which looks to be setting up a feud with Ethan Carter III and Rhino. I just have a feeling, this is going to stunt Ethan Carter. We've seen him, he's been dealing with the upper echelon of TNA, with Bully Ray, with Sting, with, different guys, or Kurt Angle as well, and for him to come down to something like this to, not knocking Rhino at all. I'm a fan of Rhino. I think he's a great talent, but he's in no means one of the upper echelon talents, and I think you're kind of stunning the growth a little bit of a talent that's really broken out in TNA this year in Ethan Carter III. Just my opinion, it's a little bit, I don't know. To me, it just hurts a little bit that, you got a guy that you can continue to keep up there. I'm not saying he has to challenge for the world title, but let's see him feud against guys like James Storm, Robert Roode, Jeff Hardy, guys that are considered the top tier. Now, coming off of that, we're going to go right into our question of the week. Question of the week from last week was, who's your favorite knockout on the TNA roster? Got some answers from our friends here. First is from Zombies40. I would have to say Gail, even though I really like Brittany. Gail has always been a great wrestler, but I think being a heel for so long, Gail was just boring and stale, but as a face, Gail now seems a lot more cool. Next up from Silver84, favorite knockout currently is Taryn. She is a really hard worker and has improved so much since her debut. Fans thought she would be a WWE typical diva in the KO division, but she proved that she will go all out in matches and not hold anything back. I really respect that. As do I. I think Taryn has been a pleasantly surprising how good she's been and how fast she's evolved from being just another pretty face to actually a pretty serious wrestler. I have to agree with Zombies40 though. Gail Kim is just an amazing in-ring talent. Everything she does is so crisp, so perfectly timed. Her matches are all perfect. Her promo skills are great. Her interactions with the other knockouts. She's just a fun person to watch wrestle. And I think having her in TNA is a huge asset. And I think it's one of their strongest assets is how good some of the women's wrestlers they have there are, and Gail is the cream of the crop in my opinion. Now coming off of that, we're going to go to our question for the week for this week. I was thinking about this looking at the Kevin Steen Mount Rushmore thing that he was in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. I've been looking at it because of Kevin Steen moving on, of course. And it gave me an idea for the question of the week for this week. If you were to erect a Mount Rushmore, everybody's familiar with it. It's got the 4 greatest United States presidents as a big granite in the mountain structure that was carved out. If you were to create a TNA Mount Rushmore, basically the 4 greatest or most important members of the TNA roster ever, who would you put on it? Let us know your 4. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on Facebook. Put it down where? Down there in the comments. Now we're going to move into the good segment of the night. If you notice, we didn't have anything in the bad segment, which is pretty awesome because that means we're going to have a solid show, as you see. First up in the Stairway to Janice match, Bram versus Abyss. I thought that was great. I thought the level of violence and brutality that continues to escalate in the feud between these two is just, I enjoy what they're doing. I think Bram has been a breath of fresh air into TNA. I think he's a great addition to some of these more violent type stipulations that TNA does. There was blood, there was barbed wire, thumbtacks. This is what can really set them apart from the WWE. WWE doesn't do that. However, there's fans that want to see that, want to see the level of violence raise up. And this is a perfect way to show it. I thought this was great. Two great hardcore style wrestlers. Bram definitely cementing himself as one of the toughest wrestlers in TNA. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, anybody that not only can beat Abyss, but continually beat Abyss solidly and cleanly in matches where Abyss has historically been dominant in, should make his character grow even more. Next up, we have Lowkey versus Samoa Joe for the X Division title. Much like I said about the first match, this is another thing that they could use to highlight the difference between them and WWE. The X Division. The WWE, while it has some great workers, it doesn't have a division quite like the X Division. The only thing that you can say, and I've seen where people say, well, what exactly is the X Division? To me, it's basically the cruiserweight division from WCW without having a weight limit. The work rate's a little faster, the moves are a little more spectacular. You see a match with the two guys, Samoa Joe, who shouldn't fit into that kind of thing based on just looking at him and Lowkey, and they just go out there and tear the house down. And they show why these guys are both amazing talents. Samoa Joe showing again and again and again why he's one of the best things that TNA has on their roster. Just a great match, a great showing between two old rivals. Joe picking up the win, of course, keeping him going solid moving forward. Next up, we have Mr. Anderson versus Samuel Shaw in an I Quit match. The match was pretty good. I enjoyed it. The end of the match where Gunner and Anderson have a little bit of interaction with each other, I think we're eventually going to see either a three-way feud between all three or one of the two, Gunner or Anderson, turning heel, looking more like like Anderson now because of him questioning Samuel Shaw and Gunner trying to help him out. But I think going forward we're going to see some more interesting stuff. The match itself was pretty good. I'd like to see a little more. I think the matches earlier in the summer that Shaw and Anderson had together were a little bit better, but this was still very good quality. It kept the show going, kept my interest, which is what you need to do. Next up, through a couple segments and then finally in an in-ring segment, we found out that the Hardy Boys and Team 3D are going to challenge the Wolves in some kind of tag team series, which begins next week. I think it's going to be cool. I think it's a good idea. I think it's, again, something you can highlight. Look at our tag team division. Look how great our tag teams are. You got two tag teams that every wrestling fan in the world knows, and hopefully a third that most do, and if not, they will very shortly in the American, or just the Wolves now. But just a great way to hype up what you're going to do on your next shows and keep people interested, keep people tuning in. Next up, we have for the Knockouts Division title, Angelina Love versus Gail Kim. Gail pulls out a win in a very hard-fought match, which seen interference from Velvet Sky coming out and Gail thwarting the interference, being able to keep her eye on the prize, keep her title going forward. I thought it was great. Again, we're getting to see the best of TNA. We're seeing what makes TNA different, what makes TNA special. Is you got the hardcore division, you got the hardcore stuff, you got the X Division stuff, you got a great tag division, you got a great women's division. The more they the more that they showcase the great that they do, the more it's going to bring fans to the product. Last but not least, the 6 Sides of Steel 6-man challenge. The winner gets a world title shot against Bobby Lashley. We have Austin Aries versus Eric Young versus Gunner versus Magnus versus James Storm versus Robert Roode. The only person in the match that hasn't been a champion before is Gunner. A great match, some solid competition between all 6 guys. Got a little bit too jumbled a couple times there. There was a couple times where there was either too much going on in the ring to pay attention to one specific thing, or too little where you could see, okay, I'm going to go hit this guy, then you hit me, and then this guy will hit you, where they kind of waited around to do a chain reaction kind of thing, which, you know, was a spot. It was okay. It didn't take away from the overall enjoyment. Pretty good match and all. At the end, we see Eric Young and Bobby Roode both hit the floor at the same time, so technically a tie. So we don't get any resolution on it. I would assume that there's going to be a match between the two at some point for your to see who actually gets the title shot. But we'll see what happens. It leaves us with a cliffhanger, leaves us wanting to know what's going to happen, makes us want to tune in next week to see what's going to go on at that time. Coming off of that, we're going to go right into our ratings for the week. Now, we do a 1 to 5 scale here. We have 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. 1's a Dixie Carter, 2's a Rockstar Spud, 3's a Gunner, 4's a James Storm, 5's a Bobby Roode. I'm going to give the show a beer money. I'm going to give it a 4.5. Give it between Bobby Roode and James Storm. Not quite a great show, but a very, very good show. Very enjoyable, very fun, a lot of stuff happened, a lot of good. Like I said, Knockouts division looked good, X division looked great, hardcore stuff. There was a little bit of everything for wrestling fans. You had new wrestlers showcased, you had all-time great showcase with the Hardys at 3D. You had guys like Anderson, who are established stars, wrestling up-and-coming stars like Samuel Shaw, Bram taking a more prominent role, Ethan Carter III coming out, cutting a promo, a 6-way match which shows some of your upper echelon talent. Just a good show all the way around. Interesting to watch, something that kept your interest from the beginning of the show all the way to the end. But basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.